So folks, thank you for joining us this morning. And if you are joining from the other side of the world, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And if you are in Kiwi land, mid-morning. I think I've covered just about everybody now. I'm very, very excited to welcome Rebecca here today. Rebecca Davis is the digital LACE leader at CVS Health. Is that right, Rebecca? You seem to have lots of time. I look. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. I met Rebecca in, I'm going to go with April 2015, somewhere around there. I was in Boulder, Colorado for the SAFe RTE beta or beta class, as Rebecca would call it. So we were testing the new RTE class when it was being built. Rebecca sat on my table, no idea why, or I sat on hers, don't know. And we were just reminiscing actually, and I was pointing out that she was my people, because this is actually maybe it was 17, because Tribal Unity was out. So Tribal Unity was launched in 16. It must have been April of 17. There you go, got it all muddled. Tribal Unity's in the RTE class, and I'm sort of the person there talking about fun, and Rebecca is the person bringing the fun. She had her group in our one of our group exercises dance, and we had a Finnish lady in the room who did a runner because the Finns don't do fun. So that's my first meeting of Rebecca. We stayed in touch. We encounter each other at SAFe summits and other fun places, and she was designated a SAFe fellow a few weeks ago, which is very awesome. She is also an oh my goodness, how do you even say that, Rebecca? She's an SPCT, and they put an I in front because she means she's internal to an organization. Anyway, she's been doing this a long time. She's awesome. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today. Folks, I'm going to let Rebecca talk. I'm going to let you guys, as usual, drop questions in chat, and Rebecca will also pause for questions at various points. And we have her for an hour this morning. So Rebecca, they're all yours.
Yay! Hi. Just because you brought that up, now I was looking at my Google Photos while you were talking. So.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
You're welcome.
I now find photos of you.
I know, right? Well, I'll just embarrass each other for an hour. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. And we have an audience, so that should be awesome.
Right. Record it. So yeah, thanks. I'm Rebecca Davis. I'm super excited to talk to you guys today. I made a trade. I think we both got a decent deal out of it, but she came and talked to all of my RTEs a few weeks ago at a very strange time of day for you all. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And was like, do you want to come talk to my meetup? I was like, of course I do. You could have asked anytime and I would still be excited about it. So I do work for CVS Health. CVS, I don't think has any presence really outside of the United States, at least not very much, but really what we do is it's local stores. There's a CVS within 10 miles of I think 90% of America. So there's stores everywhere. We're a Fortune 4, I think we're a World 7, and do everything from like pharmacy to picking up your prescriptions. If you want to go buy Cheetos at the store around the corner, if you want to go buy razors or shampoo or whatever. And then we also have insurance that we take care of, and healthcare, and we're working really hard to become kind of a central healthcare organization that you can go around the corner and get whatever you need to help you with your healthcare. So a lot of transition for this large organization. What I run is a few things. I run the digital LACE, and so we have a large area inside of my company that has 31 trains, about 5,000 different people that work together and in order to accomplish like consumer facing products. And we I run the LACE there. I also run all the people who are employed as full-time coaches inside of the organization, although I'll talk a little bit how I think coaching lives in many places and it's not necessarily just the places you think about. I also run this SPCE community practice for the organization as a whole. So we have an IT department that has like 10,000 people. The company as a whole has 400,000 people. And so we've got a bunch of training going on outside of the area that I run. I keep a community practice together to just help people share and tell stories and just spread across the organization a bit more. Can you guys right now see this slide that says, why do we need a LACE? Cool.
Yes.
So I am going to share one thing right off the bat. I am not somebody who loves documentation, slide decks, or anything that I have to actually write down and remember. So you're going to notice that shortly. And if there's something that you feel like you can't really understand because either I'm not articulating it clear enough or you just want to pause, like go ahead and throw something in chat. And I'll make sure to be watching chat as well as like watching your faces so that I can answer something if needed, or if you all just like checked out and you're reading a book on the side or playing with a koala bear, because that's what I imagine you all do all day long.
Yes, that's what we do.
I'll be looking out for that.
How did you know?
I have a great setup in my head of what else happens in Australia. It's really fantastic. That's a whole nother meetup. I'll tell you, I started at CVS a few years ago. I got hired in as a coach, a trainer, and also somebody to like manage Rally, because I've worked with Rally for like years and years and years. What that turned into over the years is a lot of things. Like we've launched I think 26 different agile trainings over the last year or two. We've merged companies, we've done huge strategic changes, all these shifts. COVID hit. We're the largest America like response for people to get immunized. So we've had all sorts of stuff happen. Throughout that time period, I've started to get asked by my company, like, I would like you to take a larger role, to lead a LACE, to take a larger stance in the company, to really lead things, hopefully because I was doing something along the way that made sense. So for a couple of maybe like 2 years, people have said like, where's the LACE, Rebecca, and why aren't you running it? And I kind of I still react to that, because when I take something on personally, I really want to know that I understand it, that I think it's going to be really successful, and that it's needed. My entire approach to like coaching or helping a company is you shouldn't do stuff that doesn't make any darn sense. It doesn't matter if it's written in some sort of an article or something. You should only do it if it makes sense. And anything that you add when you're like forming something, it could be something super positive that people want and desire, or it could be something that's like not that. And then you're just doing it because you're doing it and because a framework article says so. So I try to avoid that and always just do things with purpose. So over the last 2 years, I've kind of looked and said, hopefully what most SPCs would do is like, do I really want to form a LACE? And I started with, well, SAFe usually gives us pretty good guidance about stuff. So I started looking at like LACE articles that you can find in here, how they were defining it inside of Lean Portfolio Management, what the connection would be. And then I got super excited because there is this LACE toolkit that's behind the login side. So I was like, oh, cool. There's like a whole thing that's going to tell me what to do and how to do it and why I should do it, which gets me excited. So I downloaded that. I started looking at it. And this is one of the first slides. And so Cotter seems like a super smart guy, understands change leadership. I like him for a lot of different reasons. This quote talks immediately about like, what does it mean to have this guiding coalition that can really help people implement, understand, and I like this part that says like, because powerful people are truly informed and committed to key decisions. And to me, there's powerful people in your organization because they have titles. And then there are powerful people in your organization because they have decided that they will help people. And so people see them as powerful. And so when I read this, I was like, I get this. Like, I think this is really cool. I'm not yet certain if it's something that like I want to lead or it's something that we need, because we already have a lot of things in the organization that are creating movement. We've already launched trainings. We have something called an Agile Transformation Office. We've got people like kind of like not grassrooting, but like already aligning across things. So do we need this? So then I kind of thought about this and I went to the next area and it says, okay, well, what are the characteristics of the LACE? And when I looked at this piece, I was also looking for, am I somebody who feels like they can lead these characteristics? Because what I never want to do is lead something and I'm not exemplifying it. And I think that's important to have personal accountability for, is we don't want fake leaders. So why would we create fake agile leaders or something for agile, right? So do I have all these things? Do I feel like I could actually like come up with energy every single day and show up and lead people that have all of this within them? So I was like, well, I used to be a cheerleader. There I am. I'm pretty excited all the time. I paint things like this thing I did last weekend. It's sort of okay. So I'm kind of innovative. I really believe in lifelong learning. I'm one of those people who just wants to be inspired, and I hope that I inspire people. So all of this felt pretty good, but also like a pretty big task. To me, if you're gonna like be part of a LACE or be a LACE, you have to show up every single day. And you don't get to have those days where you're like, don't feel like it. I'm just gonna go to the meetings and like sort of be there or cash it in. I don't think you get to be that here. You have to have accountability for always exemplifying everything. So I took that pretty seriously. Said, okay, I think I've got something that I feel like I could lead people here. And then I looked at this and I got stuck a little bit. Because I was like, what this is telling me right now is that the only way that you can form a LACE is if you form it as an agile team and you have a Scrum Master and a product owner. And I love the idea of having somebody who helps make sure that we continue to have movement. I love the idea of prioritization. I also really love the idea of what if you could form a team where these things were embodying inside of the team each day, and you weren't reliant on like one person to be that type of a person. So I got a little bit here where I love the concepts and what we're writing here. I'm not sure that when I kick off a LACE, I necessarily have to follow every single one of these bullet items. The one that I did get really, really stuck in is the team is cross-functional. It needs to have credible people from various functional organizations, and they have to be integral members of the team. So what I've noticed, I don't know about you guys, is when I go to talks or I research like who's already has LACEs, it tends to be that there is a department in the company that has the energy behind Agile and the trainers, and the people that report to them become the LACE. And I don't love that concept personally. I think if you're going to make a LACE and you want them to have all of these things, then to me, I don't think it's a reporting structure. I think it's a coalition in a form of people with all of these behaviors who are super excited about helping others in the organization, and those others in the organization don't also need to be from their roles or their areas. So this is a part where sometimes, even now, what I do in my company is I manage coaches and SPCs and trainers, so the people who do the majority of the training in the company. I'm also titled as the director of the LACE. Sometimes when a coach joins me, they say, okay, I'm part of the LACE. No, you're a coach. You report to me, and I'm super happy that you're a coach and that you're a trainer. That doesn't automatically mean that you are part of the LACE, because the LACE means something different, and it needs to be cross-functional, and it has to have energy, and it has to in my mind, be something where you can talk to a person in design or a person from business or a person from architecture who has the same amount of passion and energy about how do I help my company. So this part I'm still forming. We've got a LACE put together. It's got people from some different backgrounds. Some of them don't even know that I call them as part of the LACE. I'll let them know one day that like, hey, guess what? You've been part of the LACE for a while. But I make sure that when we're looking at like these behaviors, we're looking for the behaviors prior to the titles. And then we're starting to worry about like, okay, now how do we work together? What does it mean to have a transformation backlog? What do we do together? So when I'm thinking about who are these people that we work together to solve things, I kind of decided I can't talk to this last bullet to the other people that I want to come join this thing that I'd like to call a LACE without knowing my why and without being able to articulate it. So I spent a good bit of time talking about like, what's my why? Like, why do I care about this? And what is the this that I actually care about? So for me, and I think this is different for everybody, but for me, I believe two things. One, I love this quote. I stole it from some book somewhere that I can let you know later. I think it's called Sustaining Agility, but I just really like it because it talks about, it's not about having a great successful development process. It's not about having fantastic architecture. It's about having engaged people that are focused on customers, and that those engaged people are improving the way that they work together all the time, no matter what their job is. And that they're using data and logic and facts to embrace change in a way that doesn't burn themselves out. And if I can get my organization or any organization that I'm a part of, I believe in CVS's vision, but I also believe like, if you could get this to happen in any company, you are so winning. And having everybody talking this way and it never ever be about like, oh, what's your job title though? And do you come from development or do you come from business? But really get this to happen. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do with my life. And within CVS particularly, I really believe in healing people, and that right now it's really actually hard to be a human being and go all the way through life and have these moments in life where you are very healthy to all the way to where you are either critically ill, or maybe you have a child who's like 2 years old and you just got the news that they're not going to make it till 7. I would much rather have those people be able to live their life than have to pay attention to like medical bills and how do I track the medical system. So my why at CVS is having this crazy ability to take advantage of all the things that we have and have it so that the humans in the world can actually be better. And if I can form a LACE out of people who are passionate about that and they know how scaled agile works, then I get really excited. You guys have thoughts or questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that's awesome. Thanks. Good. Great. Yes.
Thanks.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wow, that's, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I think
Rebecca's heart reaction is there for a reason. Yeah, that's inspiring.
Rebecca, I'm
Yeah.
sorry for joining late. Yeah, that was inspiring, the bit that I heard. My question would be, that sounds great. My curiosity would be around, what do you find are typically the challenges in reaching that ideal state?
Yeah, I find there's a lot of challenges, but mostly they're because like humans like to human. And so we find that like it's what we're looking for, to me, is the larger your organization gets, the harder it is to get people to realize that other people are really people and not just like random beings that are out to get them because they're starting to talk about like a process that you don't believe in or you didn't buy into. So I find they're very like human blockers. And some of those human blockers have a lot to do with empathy of like, hey, if you can have, when I talk to like our CFOs or CEOs or CTOs, like C-level. There is nobody at the executive layer of our company who's like, nah, I don't believe in empathy and learning and practice and great people. That seems terrible. Nobody believes that. But when you talk to like people who are doing work, you are almost consistently will hear, we don't have a strategy, our leadership doesn't care about us, things like that. There's something wrong there, where like the communication modem throughout the organization has not built up to be like strong enough through all the layers that people can recognize that other people, no matter what their title are actually real human beings. And they do actually care about all the things that you care about. You're just seeing the struggle of like, how do you connect all that? So I think there's a struggle about just having empathy for other people. And then I think there's a struggle of being able to take a step out of the box that you happen to be in. So I'm going to use Scrum Master as an example. Anybody who's a Scrum Master right now? I can't see all of your videos right now. So if there is somebody who just raised their hand,
yeah.
what's your main job as a Scrum Master, do you think? There's no wrong answer. I'll just make fun of you if you're wrong.
Coach and mentor the team, facilitate learning.
Nice. So what tends to happen, I see sometimes, is when you think about like, I'm going to mentor my team, I'm going to help them. Sometimes if another team that is being mentored and helped needs something from your team and it's not in line directly with the thing that you've been helping and mentoring with, you see that as an attack on your team and you go in for protective mode. I'm not saying you as a person, but sometimes that happens. And I think what Scaled Agile does really well at is saying we're going to have a teams of teams mentality. We win together or we lose together. However, what you are doing is starting to say, like, now we have teams of teams who get to be somewhat selfish about each other. We want to have that a bit because we want that focus and relentless improvement across a team of teams. When you have 31 or 60 agile release trains, and you've by nature created groups of 125 people that really care about each other, they may not care about the other groups of 125 people. And so I think a lot of the job of coaches and LACE and leadership is to ensure that we never forget that each other are human, and that we're here for like common purpose and common strategy and common opinion. None of that is easy. There is no like black and white. If you just do this and show up and talk about vision, everybody will get it. What other questions?
What's been your most surprising learning so far?
Surprising. Probably the amount of attention that really good, really smart people give to social media blogs about this frame of agile or this frame of agile matters more than any other. I don't get that at all. We're all here to do something really cool for people. So like, why would you even pay attention to that? So I think that's been my most surprising is like the amount of energy that I have to put into like, the person who wrote that article makes money off of bashing whatever it is that they bashed. Like, is that really what you want to spend your time on? Is like deciding to argue about how they stated their words?
Thanks. Yeah, I found the same.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebecca, it's Drew here. Just a quick question from me. You've got 36 trains, I think you said you've got running. Are you working with a centralized model or with one LACE supporting all those 36 trains, or do you have multiple LACEs that support all those trains?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have one LACE right now that I'm still tentatively deciding to call a LACE or not a LACE, because what we do have is when I look at like all the things that like are articulated as that a LACE would do, what I am part of is a leadership team that is the Agile Transformation Office, which has all of the RTEs, Scrum Masters, STEs, portfolio managers, Scrum Master managers, portfolio directors, and a group called Agile Operations, which makes sure that all those trains work together inside of my area. Like that's what we do, is keep everything going. So what I believe is that each really large business or each portfolio should probably have some sort of a transformation organization that has some mixture of those roles, so that you can keep the steel thread of like your transformation together. To me, a LACE cannot be all those things, or you're going to start unintentionally or intentionally becoming kind of like agile dictators, where you're like, I shall PI plan in this way and feature right in this way. And I want the energy to come from the Scrum Masters and the RTEs, and really be able to have ownership around being innovative about the way that we utilize the framework. So we do have one LACE currently. We have thought about moving my LACE into a path where we're able to serve the emerging portfolios across the organization that are more and more excited about SAFe, but in a way where like we help them get started and going, rather than like we're being like a central governance, mostly because I have like negative gut reactions to that idea.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebecca. It's Richard here. I was just wondering, the members of your LACE, are they full-time, or if not, what sort of capacity have they got dedicated to being in the LACE?
Yeah, I don't hire people into the LACE on purpose. Like no one's job is to be part of the LACE. My job is not even entirely to direct the LACE. It's to do a bunch of other things. And that's kind of on purpose. Again, for similar reasons. I think it's really hard to talk with people and be credible in the part that says like credible people, if you're not actually doing roles inside of the company as well, because then you start having opinions about how other people should do their job, but not having reality of the inertia of the company of what's actually feasible or possible. So most of the people that I would consider like part of this cross-functional like energy people have full-time jobs. They're a UX director who is very interested in helping have design clarity within SAFe. So like co-creating like articles and guidance about things that don't necessarily exist right now in SAFe, so that we can have less organizational like churn about like the word design doesn't show up on the big picture and what is wrong with that. Engineering VPs who are very interested in like culture change and unfreezing people from old behaviors, portfolio level leadership, executive leadership. So people who know the problems at hand because they're living them, and then are willing to spend extra time in addition to their role working with me on what do we do to solve those in a way that's sustainable.
And sorry, one like just on that. And so how do you manage the time to do all, like you talk about, obviously operating as an agile team, doing ceremonies and things like that. How do you manage to squeeze all those in?
Every PI planning, they take 10% of their, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I work with each of them on, and it's similar to a COP almost, of like, hey, I'm not forcing you to spend time with me on this. If it's not your energy thing, then it's just not. It's really like, is this something that you're passionate about, is actually moving agility through the organization, becoming an organization that can actually believe in this? If so, you're going to find time because you care, not because any manager or myself like put hours on your calendar. And I get that question sometimes too, actually, about me, is like, how do you find time to do this stuff, Rebecca? I don't know. It's because I care enough. And I'm not going to spend my time on other things that I care less about when I could be doing this that will actually have ripple effects to the organization.
Hi, this is Sean from Seattle.
Hey, Sean from Seattle.
Your neck of the woods. Thank you for coming here. It's fantastic. I had a quick question for you. On SPCs, they're kind of experienced SPCs. They're kind of difficult to find. How have you, is there some magic sauce you have to source them, or how are you getting them? And if you're not getting experienced ones, what's your game plan or strategy for getting them the experience they need in order to make an impact?
Yeah. So that's a great question. That's actually one of the reasons I became an SPCT to begin with, is the charter of that is to create stronger SPCs, and I just really believe in that. So what I do is when we have one thing, we've actually helped coach the hiring managers, specifically for roles like RTE and ST, to look for SPCs as something in their background, and then also to listen when we do interviews for things like, I've interviewed people and I can literally watch their eyeballs look at another screen and read the SAFe page to me. Not interested. Or like hearing stories that don't sound like their stories, right? So when we interview people, I'm really looking for somebody who can explain to me in words that are not the scaled agile framework words that are on the public page, like how they've actually implemented it and how they've created change in mindset and change in behaviors, more so than like understanding the process things. For existing SPCs, I really like to do like an invite model of, I run an SPC class like twice a year internally. I'm always looking at the SPCs who haven't been there in a long time, or who I've noticed like aren't signing up to train, or aren't signing up to like lead workshops or something. And I'm going to invite them to be like my class breakout helpers, because then they're going to get refreshed in their head and hopefully re-energized and re-excited. And then what we do as an organization is really ensure that every single person that works inside of our company has the opportunity to get SAFe training. So we have like next PI, I think we're running 8 SAFe for Teams classes. We're running, I think, like 2 leading SAFes. Like we're consistently training out about 300 to 600 people a month that are getting training of some sort or another. And I say that as an option because I'm not going to force people to take a class. That doesn't help anybody. But every single person who works here has the option to take as many classes as they would like, and then get follow through coaching because of it. And that includes SPCs. Like some SPCs are like, really? I'm allowed to take another one? I already have 6. Are you going to do something with it? Do you follow through on your action plans? Yes. Go take it. Go learn. Why would I stop you from learning?
Rebecca, I've got a question on the LACE itself. How does the team itself, how do you go about, or what measures do you use to tell whether your LACE is doing a great job or not so great job? Like, how do you know whether you're improving as a LACE yourself? What key measures are you looking at?
This is my favorite question because I'm by nature, like, I get weird about measuring stuff. But I think this is one place where it's pretty important. So I don't know if this is a great answer, but the way that I do this right now is in a few ways. One, we run train by train SAFe assessments. And what I look for when we run a SAFe assessment is that I'm actually associating people to those SAFe assessments that will follow through with the train on action plannings because they assess themselves. And what I look for from not just the LACE, but from the coaches is that those things were followed through upon. I don't necessarily care what they came up with as their actions. I care that they did something in that train or that group of people found meaning in it. Sometimes people who I would consider LACE are helping with that, and sometimes it's the coaches who are actually running that. So it is a little bit blurred there between like the two groups. But what I'm really measuring is like, did people actually take advantage of improvement? And it wasn't like one person, it wasn't just like the RTE, it was like the train actually really got involved in having ownership of improvement. I also look at some, like, to me, like, I haven't figured out a way to like quantitatively measure some of this, but one of the things I look for from people who have volunteered to like help be these credible people to help is how many people who are not in their HR cycle are reaching out to let me know they had an interaction with that person that just really helped them. Because people really love to tell me for whatever reason, if somebody has helped them, they're just like reaching out and they're like letting me know. I don't know why that has happened, but it does. So I tend to be able to notice if what people are telling me. So like, I'm going to use a UX director as an example. I have a UX director who's really passionate about like helping create some SAFe articles that could start to connect design closer to SAFe, working with him on that. What I want to see also is that he's created an environment where he and product management and architecture are having conversations that make those groups of people work closer together instead of more far apart. So when I hear things like throughout the week of like, hey, I just had a conversation with James and it was fantastic and amazing or whatever, that's a beautiful thing to hear. If I'm not hearing that, or if I'm only hearing it from his organization, then I'm not really sure that I want to spend a ton of time creating the article, because you're not showing up that you're believing in creating an organization. You're kind of showing up as believing in making the one thing that you do better. So I know that's like not the clearest way of measuring, but it's right now with where we're at with this word LACE. I don't look at it as like a piece of the company. It's like a loose coalition of people who have energy and motivation. Does that answer you at all?
Yeah, I think it does. I guess it's just thinking from the human element, you know, as human beings, we like feedback to know that we're actually moving closer to what our purpose is, like why we're here, as you mentioned at the start. If we have an ideal vision of why we're here and what we're here to do, to add value, whatever that means in your context, then yeah, whatever feedback you can get that helps tell you whether you're getting closer or further away is, makes sense.
One of the things we started measuring, and to that point, but I don't think I can directly correlate it back to just the LACE, although I do think there is a ripple effect of it, is our yearly like employee satisfaction scores and our retention scores. So the areas, what's been really cool to see is the areas of the organization that have actually implemented agility for a bit, and scaled agile in particular, have lower or higher retention rates and higher employee satisfaction scores than the other areas you have not. And we see it even when we do the training. Like some people in a new area will join a training and be like, I never even got the chance to like, could you go to a learning before? Because it just wasn't something that was prioritized. And inside of scaled agile, like you're not just forming people as trains, like you're building in lifelong learning mentality, and people just get excited about that. So we do monitor and track like engagement of the people who work here and like what they're engaged in and why they're engaged. And when they complain about like something agile, we take a really hard look of like, are they complaining because that area is not actually like running agility, in which case we should really help them in this way or another? Or are they complaining because there's actually something wrong in how we have implemented agility and then we need to fix something or another?
Question I had, Rebecca, thank you for the talk. It's always good to hear a real life application of something rather than just the theory. I find it we're kind of a bit newer on our agile journey. In the context of our organization, what I'm hearing, what I understood of LACE is probably slightly different. I think we're probably more made up of individuals, which would be part of your agile transformation office. In terms of like, when in your journey did you really understand that you probably needed more than just those roles and you needed to build this informal coalition? Like, is there like a level of maturity you think you get to, and was it like an evolution of your agile transformation office that you knew you're at a point where you needed to more build the informal coalition to extend and support the agile journey?
I think I always knew that we needed something that was mostly like this last bullet. I always kind of veered away, and I think some of my colleagues veer away of calling something a community of excellence or anything that has the word excellence in it, because sometimes that starts to make people think like you're coming at them from the perspective that you already know everything. So the word choice was actually bothering me for a long time. but what I've always realized, and what started to just get like bigger and bigger as to why I was like, okay, we'll just like suck it up and make the name mean something that's really cool. We believe this. And then we have a cute picture from Dr. Seuss. So the ATO is like this high level of energy. We're an independent voice, we're servant leaders, but we're still an HR hierarchy, right? So we've got inside of the organization, the Scrum Masters, like I said, like the Scrum Masters, the RTEs, solution trained engineers, agile operations, agile coaches, agile managers, program managers, like all these like people. What we don't have is designers, architects, engineers, business stakeholders, voice of the customer. Like, and to me, if you're gonna, like, this is gonna be the energy around making sure that we're consistent and that we have servant leadership in all layers of SAFe. To me, the LACE needs to be something that leads into this, but is slightly different of like, now what happens if you have all these people inside of the transformation office and they're pushing something that doesn't make practical sense because you haven't gotten a really good strategic pulse for what it feels like if you're not an agilist, if you're really someone who's like joining the company and may or may not be bought into how we do things, or be okay with like stand-ups for the sake of stand-ups, or I think you need that broadness, and that's the part that I think is interesting to start to create, so that you don't unintentionally create a new group that now thinks they know best but doesn't hear the issues that are coming from everybody.
Thank you. So in terms of the last question was in terms of your makeup of your like informal coalition of the LACE now, like I'm assuming you've still got a few members that are also on the Agile Transformation Office structure, but then it extends to others. Like, do you know roughly like what's the mix of your LACE that would be ATO kind of resources versus cross-functional outside of it?
About 50-50 at this point. Next year, I have grand plans of being a lot more articulate about it to the rest of the organization and announcing people. My fear on that is, again, this whole like excellent world. Like then you've taken 5,000 people that you serve has in agility, and you said these people are doing this. And so I still have caution about that. And I'm almost of the point of like, do we announce something or do we make it a rotation? Where like you can always become part of the LACE.
Cool, thank you.
So Rebecca, thank you for coming and talking. Going back to the point around, it's not somebody's job to be part of the LACE. They have to be passionate, they need to do that. You talked about needing essentially C-suite buy-in to get these types of things going. How is that expectation set within the org to get you to where you are versus where you have been previously? You know, it's the, yeah, I'm passionate, but I ain't got time because of other pressure, because of that manager above in the C-suite that potentially doesn't care about it deeply enough to support that action further through.
Yeah, I got two perspectives on this. One is if you, I think that if you really believe in wanting to help this, then you'll find a way. It doesn't matter if you find that way on your own personal time or not, like you will find that way. I also think that, at least for us, because we have such a strong stance on like agility training throughout the organization, and what we started with first when we launched the very first trainings is we trained executive leadership and then we went down. So we followed the implementation plan like from almost to a T. We don't have SVPs or VPs who haven't been in leading SAFe for the most part. We have some because we've, transitions of people and such like that. But I tend to find that when you actually follow the implementation roadmap from the way it's intended of train executives first and then do everything else, you end up with less of that. I've definitely been in organizations where I had the most painful moment of, I think, of being at one organization, winning across the company the yearly award for being a fantastic team member. And literally in that same all hands session, the CTO stood up and said, we're not going to do Agile anymore. It doesn't work. And I was like, really? Because you guys just gave me an award for that. So what I've learned,
public contradiction is something I definitely deal with, hence the crux of the question.
Right. And what I've learned is like our new C-level person that's like my boss's boss said something the other day that has like stuck with me. She said, you have to have grit and you have to have grace. So you have to be brave enough to say when that is wrong. I have the grace to understand that like not everybody's going to be at the same spot all the time. So you can either believe in your organization enough to stick with that and figure out what you want to do to change it, or not, and find a different organization. And I think that's just a personal choice of like, what do you want to believe in and have the grit and the grace enough to remain passionate about. Jeff, do you want me to start answering some of your questions? Because I saw you had like 10 of them now.
No, I only have 30. But they're one. It's one and the same. You know, I'm trying to help because I care about the mission of our company. And just if I can make a plug for a second, you talked about humans treating humans, and early in the transformation, I had the privilege of learning from Adrienne, and she was the first person, a while, she may not know this, who treated me like a human. And you know, when you don't get treated like a human for a long time, you forget what it's like. And then you're like, wow, this is what treating human is. And so I want to thank you personally as a friend, Adrienne, and all I've learned and continue to learn from Pretty Agile. I got to learn from M, and I've taken more classes, and I'm an SPC. But I switched my roles because I was interested in how to servant lead in a different altitude and a more wider sphere. And so maybe I'm confused with Agile Transformation Office is versus LACEy. That's probably not clear in my mind. There's lots I don't know. I'll try hard. I've got grit. I've got grace. I might not have the knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen companies for sure that treat those two things as equitable. I just don't. I personally have a hard time with those being equitable because I find that the ATO is tied to HR hierarchy, and I just don't think the LACEy can be and be successful long term. I think they can be at first, but when I try to do a lot of like lessons learned from other organizations, and what I tend to see is over time in some organizations that treat those two things as equitable, the LACEy or the ATO or the Agile PMO turns into something that nobody wants to interact with because they just see it as somebody telling them what to do and they don't actually understand the problems at hand. And I don't ever want to be that. Like I learned a word the other day and I got super excited about it. And I told all of my coaches, like, we're going to live by this word, an ultra-crepidarian. I love it because it's super long and nobody knows what it means. But it means you don't want to be a person who talks about something you don't know. And that's the thing I always want to avoid. And I think one way to avoid that is to have people doing jobs being part of this. I don't think there's like a difference beyond that. I love our Scrum Masters, I love our RTEs, I love everybody inside of my Agile Transformation Office. I believe in each of them. I believe they have the behaviors on this slide. I think it is also easy to be like the Agile expert and find that people are not necessarily coming to you with all the problems because they believe that on occasion you're going to throw Agile at them instead of listening first. Yeah, you found it. You even spelled it right. That's amazing. Or dictionary did. Took me like 5 tries.
Google autocomplete.
Yeah, it's a good one. Any other questions? What I see is when I look at SAFe Big Picture and they talk about an Agile PMO, what I believe that is an Agile portfolio management office that helps with portfolio leadership in an Agile way. we don't yet have one of those. The LACE has, and like my team and some other people in LPM have started to have been that this year, until we can discover if that's feasible, because I find that that's actually a really hard thing to translate for people sometimes, is the difference between being amazing at project management, which is a skill that I think companies still need, and then being fantastic at epic portfolio management, which is an entirely different mindset of not actually knowing exactly where everything's going to go and really giving up a lot of ability to project manage. So hopefully if you talk to me in a year, you can ask that question and I'll have a cool answer. Hope this was helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I see lots of familiar faces, lots of nodding heads this morning. See, it's so much better when you have your cameras on. I can see if you're listening. Rebecca can see if you're listening. So on behalf of everyone, Rebecca, thank you so much for making the time this morning and well, this afternoon, this morning, you know what I mean.
Yesterday afternoon.
No, very good point. How did you get here from yeah? Wow, that's amazing. She's going, where am I? It's actually you know, it's like 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, and it's
Tuesday afternoon for North America.
Yeah. Yeah, really appreciate it, Rebecca. We'll have to continue our story trade over time, and maybe I can do your folks another favor, and you can do us another favor in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. I would love to. Thanks for letting me come. And does anybody have a koala next to them?
No, we don't usually really have them like right next to us. I'm sorry. Yeah.
We have a koala just down the road.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just down the road from us. We go visit him every
You should
every few days.
Bring that to the next meetup, and that should literally just be the meetup.
Just yeah, maybe just an interview with Patty. I'm sure Patty has lots to say.
Oh, there you go. There's one.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
There's a possum in the tree outside.
That's
yeah. Go catch it for us.
Oh, he's sleeping now. Yeah, no, maybe not.
Yeah, I appreciate it though. If you guys want, you can always like hit me up a message on LinkedIn or whatever. And I don't know, this stuff geeks me out, so I'm always excited to talk about it whenever you want.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone who joined in this morning.
You.
Awesome questions and participation. It was really fun, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks all. Have a good morning. Cheers.
Everybody.
Thank you.